Well, I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I'm going to say that there aren't any of you that are watching this right now that don't have someone in their life that they know that has had Alzheimer's or that has Alzheimer's. And of course, as I said earlier in the show, I have someone near and dear to me. He helped raise me. He's my brother-in-law that's struggling with Alzheimer's right now. Frank Fitzpatrick is a music and wellness expert. You want to show? I got to tell you about this guy. Grammy-nominated, multi-platinum music producer, best-selling author, music and health expert, and now I'm kind of intimidated. Frank, good to have you coming down the road with us.
Great to be here, Joel, and no reason to be intimidated. It's just great to spend some time together, my friend.
Tells me you know what the heck you're doing, Frank. Want to talk a little bit? Okay, full disclosure, huge Tony Bennett fan. Number of CDs, now I'm listening to him, punched in right away on Pandora. Tony Bennett, struggling with Alzheimer's. I've seen him in person 4 or 5 times. I love the guy. Give people an example of what's happening with Tony Bennett for what you've been trying to teach people about.
Yes, so Tony, and yes, a magnificent singer and one of the last in the league of his generation, and carrying that torch and passing it forward. And but in terms of the challenge of Alzheimer's, which is you've learned personally, it's just a really horrific and difficult disease. Tony has Alzheimer's, and what Alzheimer's, one of the things it does, it's an extreme form of cognitive decline, and one of the things it does is it attacks certain memory centers in the brain. And so Tony, on an average day and going through his life at home with his wife Susan, might not remember what he said a minute ago, might not remember who just walked in the door, might not remember, where he left his anything. It's frustrating for him, but even more frustrating sometimes for the caregiver. But music has this very powerful way, because music affects and impacts more areas of the human brain than any other stimuli. So there's areas of the brain that have memories that music can trigger that are not affected by the disease. And the brain has this capacity, when it hears music, that it's stored and is familiar to it and has, some capacity to bring back memories that would otherwise not be accessible. And that's one of the advantages.
I want to give an example of that. Everybody knows the partnership and the love between Tony Bennett and Lady Gaga. Well, folks, take a little view and a listen to this, if you would.
Tony, would you sing Fly Me to the Moon? Nobody in the world sings it like you. Fly me to the moon.
Fly me to the moon. In other words, please be true. In other words, I love you.
I got to tell you, Frank, I get a little emotional just seeing that and knowing what you just pointed out is happening. Have there been a lot of cases where you've seen how well music can be used in a circumstance like that?
Yeah. So what if people don't know what has happened with Tony? So when he hears, if he works, he rehearses every day. That helps him keep his mind sharp and gives him a moment to be present again. So as soon as he hears these familiar songs and this music that's familiar to him, he becomes very present. He remembers all the words of the song, and he steps right into the Tony Bennett that the public knows and loves, right? Yeah. Because it's all inside of him still. So yeah, I've seen it many times. There's a spotlight a little bit on, thanks to Tony for being open about it and doing things like the 60-minute behind the scenes and being very transparent about what's going on in his life. There's a spotlight on Alzheimer's that we probably haven't had since, I think 7 years ago, we released a film called Alive Inside, which is an amazing documentary that won a lot of awards. And it goes through journeys of people becoming very present and changing and coming out of complete comatose into a state of joy and connection and presence that they would never otherwise have by listening to music that they remember from their childhood or that they remember from a part of their life.
So is there a certain music that does this? Is there a certain music, or is it based on that individual?
It's like many things in the science and how music works with the brain, preference is a big key. So it's really, when you're talking about memory in particular, you're talking about music that re-triggers memories that are stored in your brain. So it's going to be, and the memories that are strongest tend to be during things that are attached to emotions or emotionally important times in our lives, or during very high levels of plasticity or developmental years. So most people remember for a lifetime the songs that they heard between age 12 and 21, and those become their favorite songs until they're 80. And that's because that's such a highly emotional and hormonally developing time that keeps a deeper memory. So if you're going to help somebody in this way, or you're going to build your own seed bank of music for when you start to slip into a little cognitive decline in your later years, and you want to kind of have it for yourself as a go-to or for someone to help you, you want to choose music that, either marked in a really important time in your life or an important memory, so that's, and I can tell you a great story about, the way we can use this to communicate between people, because I know you're going to see your brother soon.
Yeah, please do. I mean, please do.
So in my book, I have a whole chapter on this music and memory in my book, Amplified, which is out, and I have a gift for your listeners at the end we'll come back to. But I tell a story of a 12-year-old boy, Daniel, who's going to see his grandfather, who's in his last days, and they never had really great communication. It's very typical, 12-year-old boy, an 80-year-old man who's kind of ailing, so the typical conversation is Daniel says, "Hey, Grandpa, how you feeling?" Grandpa says, "Not so good." Grandpa says, "How's football?" Daniel goes, "Well, Grandpa, I don't play football. I play basketball." And it kind of doesn't go anywhere from there. We know the conversation. We've had it, whether it be with our kids or other generations or friends. And then I say, "No, let's try another set of questions." And then I say, Daniel asked him, what was the favorite song that you had when you were my age, or some of your favorite bands? And what was the song that you and Grandma fell in love to? And those memories are in there. And not even just, you might hear the song, but even just reflecting upon that brings back a whole level of deep emotional connection and sharing a part of their life that he would have never had that conversation. They just would have passed in like ships in the night, and it would have been. So there's an opportunity for bonding, not only on the part of, this is, a great exercise, both sharing the music and finding the music of somebody who's, suffering from Alzheimer's, but also just in terms of communication for both the caregiver and the patient. I don't like the word patient very much, but the person who's going through it. And because it's very hard for the caregiver to understand and not be recognized and not have those bonding experiences and feel like they lost that before they had a chance to get it.
Sure. I gave the example earlier before you joined us about, in the radio world and in the TV world, you get asked to do things because you're a personality. I'm not sure if I like that word either. But, I introduced Glenn Campbell at a concert once, and I met him beforehand. I saw him interacting with someone else, and he just couldn't communicate. And, my mind went to a whole different place, because knowing his past and, that type of a thing. And then I got up on stage with him, and he struggled some more until the music started. And he had his band, his family was his band. And he just, the minute that song hit, he nailed it. And then when the song was over, he was confused and sometimes started the same song again. And then his family would start a different song, and then he'd kick into that. And it is so clear what was happening, that you're right. I mean, Frank, you just nailed it here. You said you had something for the viewers here. Tell people what you got cooking.
Yeah, so, for the next couple of days, we want to try to get everybody as much information about these tools in many areas of health and how they can use music in their relationships and in these challenges. So if they go to Amplified Book, amplifiedbook.com. They can get a copy of my best-selling book for 99 cents for the next couple of days, just as a gift. And they can also get a free gift of a book to help them deal with stress and amplify joy using music during the holidays, because it's going to be a challenging holiday for a lot of people. So that's absolutely free. So again, they just go to amplifiedbook.com and they can choose and pick as they will.
Frank, you are making such a positive difference with people that need it the most. Thank you for using all those skills and putting it to work in a great way. Thanks for joining us.